Having ridden and reviewed Honda's pocket-sized adventure bike in the form of the CB500X, I really enjoy that little bike and a fantastic experience. But Honda also have the Flagship, the really big adventure bike in the Africa Twin. But in the middle, they also have a model for the middleweight category adventure bike. And that's the bike here behind me here. And it is also an iconic bike. The reason I call this iconic is because the Honda Transalp was first shown and launched to the public way back when in 1986/87 and has huge sales success and has a fantastic record. Now here today in 2023, again, you have a stunning Honda Transalp. And looking at her at first glance, you could be mistaken by thinking it's the old one that's back on the market. And that is because this color scheme harks back to the original. But this is the brand new 2023 Honda Transalp XL750. Let's take her for a ride and review her in more detail. Here we have the 2023 Honda Transalp XL750. Now, having a look at this bike, having played with it a little bit, in my opinion, a perfect mid-priced, mid-sized, mid-capacity motorcycle. I mean, having tested the, as Honda calls it, the pocket-sized adventure bike in the CB500X, stunning little bike, and then Honda also has the big Flagship adventure bike in the Africa Twin. Now, this Transalp is perfectly positioned in the middle, and from size of bike, weight of bike, everything, and most importantly, pricing. I mean, you have a bike here that is stunning for day-to-day use, lightweight, practical, perfect for two-up riding with a 755 capacity, great looks, and most important, what I always mention, is the correct price. In today's day and age, with things getting so expensive, inflation and everything, Honda have got a really good mix. Yes, you might not have all the things you're missing, like a quick shifter, but those are bolt-ons you can put on yourself. But what you get in this package is so perfect, and up against the competition, if you talk Yamaha Tenere 700, Aprilia Touareg 660, KTM 790s, Suzuki V-Strom, the 800. I mean, your pricing on this, every country is a little bit different, but here in South Africa, and I think worldwide, the Honda Transalp price position is perfect. And more about the Honda Transalp and why I called it iconic in the intro is because the Honda Transalp, the story starts back. It was shown to the public in 1986, launched in 1987 as a 583cc V-twin motor. That model ran for 14 years unchanged. It got its first facelift in 2001, and the motor was bored out to a 647cc. Then the next facelift came in 2008, and the capacity increased again to a 680cc with a 19-inch front wheel. And that ran till 2013, when it was discontinued. Now here in 2023, she's back as the Transalp XL750. No longer a V-twin motor, but a parallel twin motor, and bored out all the way to a 755cc and a 21-inch front wheel. But let's start off by having a look at this motor in more detail. So as mentioned, no longer the V-twin motor. You have the parallel twin motor up front, the two header pipes coming out, 2-in-1 exhaust down the side here. You have a 4-stroke parallel twin overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder, 755cc liquid cooled radiator tucked in neatly in front over here. And the horsepower output of this unit is 90 horsepower at 9,500 RPM, which is about 67.5 kilowatts. Newton meters is an important point here with a twin, 75 Newton meter at 7,250, which is really nice when it comes to rideability. Going through a wet multi-plate clutch, 6-speed gearbox, final drive is chain. Now, having a look at suspension. Up front, you've got proper showers upside down. Travel is a proper 200 millimeters. At the back, a monoshock and travel 190 millimeters. Also really proper and decent. Your brakes up front, you've got 2 discs waved at 310 millimeters up front with 2-piston radial calipers. At the back, a single disc also waved, 256 millimeter with a single piston brake. Then you've got your ABS 2-channel. Your wheels, 21-inch front, 18-inch at the back, stainless steel spoked wheels, shod with a 90 and a 150. Now, when it comes to the seat height, it's 850 millimeters, not too high for an adventure bike, and that's why perfect middleweight category. Ground clearance is 210 millimeters, and the fuel capacity 16.9 liters. Also really nice with the Euro 5 motors today and the fuel economy you get on these motors. And the spec I left for last is the weight of this machine. The wet weight of this Transalp is 208 kilograms, and that is super low as a wet weight. And attention to detail, for example, the frame on this Transalp 750 is even lighter than the frame on the CB500. Now, you're talking 18.3 kilograms. So really focused attention to detail to keep the weight low. Seat height is fairly low, so a really rideable, dependable, do-it-all machine. And I don't think the Transalp has always been a hardcore off-roader, but it's been a very competent off-road machine. Now let's have a look at the dash and some of the electronics. On the electronic suite side of things, I think for the price point, this bike is really well stacked. You have your traction control, you have your throttle by wire. Having a look at this 5-inch TFT display, really stunning display, and I really like the way this old analog is in this TFT display. Over here you can see your rider modes. If you go to the control, 1 button over here, very simple. You toggle through it, you go from sport to standard to rain to gravel, what I was on now, and then user, where you can set it as you please. I mean, I'm on gravel, I'm enjoying the gravel right now, and really well sorted. You've got the 5-level Honda selectable torque control, you've got 3 levels of engine braking and power, as mentioned, the 5-inch TFT here. The whole bike is full LED lighting. You have the auto indicator cancel and the ESS, the emergency stop signals. So I think all round everything is catered for. When it comes to the colors for this 2023 model, you have this Ross White tricolor, which I really like. It harks back and pays homage to the original XL650, and it's like a return of an icon. So this Ross White tricolor, then you have the matte iridium gray metallic, which is sort of a grayish finish, the matte ballistic black metallic, which is matte black, very stealthy look. Now again, what I mentioned earlier, a full pack of accessories. You can have a complete range from quick shifter, soft and hard luggage, rally touring equipment, and you even have cosmetic enhancement. So all round a fantastic, well finished machine, all rounder. And I think what we're going to do is go and ride and play with it a little bit. And as you can see, very little that comes from the part bin. The only thing that I can visually pick up is that this headlight looks like it was borrowed directly from the CB500X. Other than that, this is a stunning bike, and the way you sit in the bike gives you a lower seat height and the high tank, the high handlebars. You can stand on the pegs, but more about that. Let's jump on and go for that ride. as you can see, riding around on the gravel, this bike is extremely competent. I mean, I've only spent a few hours on this bike today, playing a little bit, and I don't think the Transalp was ever meant to be the hardcore off-road bike, but on these gravel roads, off the beaten track, very, very competent. And when I stand up, have a look, I'm sitting comfortable, really wide, handlebars come up. When I stand up, I'm not leaning forward, I'm perfectly comfortable. Handlebars come up high enough for me to stand upright without hunching forward. Really comfortable. Handlebars wide, gives you great leverage, and the bike just, it's true, it tracks right, it feels comfortable on the gravel, on the sand road, done some softer roads, softer gravel, and it's just fantastic. My 6-foot frame, it's as if they designed it for me. My legs, the thighs slope down, which is comfortable. You're not cramped in any way. The ground clearance feels great. All round super comfortable, bordering on uber comfortable. And this clock, for modern day standards, yes, some of the bigger bikes I've been riding have much bigger TFT displays, but this is really nice. It's a proper size, it is clear, minimal reflection. So all round, I must say I enjoy it. I also really like the old analog in it. Now we just switch from gravel, push the button, user, configurable, again sport, let's go sport, off with the throttle, and it's set. That's how easy it is. You have your gear indicator over here, your speed big, and like I say, maybe not as big as modern day bikes, TFTs, but nice TFT. It's easily readable, you get to know it very quickly. I really like this touch of the old school analog in it, and simple using. At first glance you think what's going on here, but it's tactile. It's even with the big gloves, you know where to find everything, the buttons, and within first 30 minutes to an hour riding, you feel at home on this bike. Simple and good adventure bike. The screen is maybe a little bit short, perfect for dirt riding. Should you get dirt or mud on it, you can see over it. However, when riding highways, I'll go on the highway now a little bit, and maybe it could be a little bit taller. And I think maybe one thing, this screen could be adjustable. It is not. So in the aftermarket, yes, you can get a higher screen. So for me, two niceties that I would add to a bike like this would be a quick shifter, because the motor is sweet. More about that now. But a quick shifter and maybe a taller screen for touring, because I do think this Transalp is more of a 80-20. What I mean with the 80-20 is 80% on-road touring, commuting, 20% off the beaten track, not so hardcore adventure off-road riding. Now for that I would put a slightly bigger screen on and the quick shifter. On the point of the motor, it's really nice. Being a twin, I always rave about twins, it's got nice torque. I'm in 6th gear, top gear, and revs are pretty low, just over 3,000, but if I roll it on, you see it just climbs. I don't have to shift down. It's got a nice torquey curve, and it's linear, it pulls, and it just feels like it builds more and more power as you're going up. So it's a sweet little motor. And when you're pulling off and you quick shifting, short shifting in the box, it's sweet, it's really a pleasure. And when you've got it in the higher RPMs and it's on song, that's when it would be really nice to have a quick shifter. But other than that, I have no complaints, and I think those things would have just made this bike more expensive. And one of the winners on this bike would definitely be the let's go onto the highway. As I was saying, those little features like the quick shifter or adjustable screen or whatever would actually make this bike lose its sweet spot of the pricing. So rather add them if you want to. You don't have to add them right at the beginning. When purchasing the bike, you can always add it later, but the price point, the affordability on a bike like this is where the sweet spot lies. So all round, I think a brilliant bike. Let's get onto the highway here a little bit and see what she does like at speeds. Rolling out in 4th gear here. This way would be nice to short shift on the quick shifter. But you can see as she goes through the revs, pulling nicely, linear. And up here is a little bit of wind and buffeting. If you tuck down, it is sweet. It's really sweet. So, and you can see this thing is running dangerous speeds, ticket time, actually imprisonment time, way past ticket time. So, you know, this is a bike you could run with the big boys. You're not going to get left behind if you go touring. Yes, if you really load it up with panniers and that, not quite as nippy, but imagine commuting on this bike. It's slim enough, it's not crazy, and you can commute. This motor is really rideable at lower RPMs with a torque 75 Newton meter. It's really rideable. I mean, the power of 90 horsepower is not going to break land speed records or scare you, but what more do you want as a commuter and a tourer? Maybe one other thing would be cruise control would be nice, because I think this motor can actually handle it. But again, now you're talking again about a completely different price point motorcycle. I think I'm being overly critical and fussy here, but we get used to those creature comforts. So all round, have a look at this motor. It's nippy, it's perky, it pulls nicely, it's linear. You don't have these awkward dips that it goes, and it's not snatchy on the throttle. You got good feel as you roll on, and all round very rideable, tractable. It's just stunning. And the power just keeps on building as you're getting closer and closer to the red. I mean, it's a really new bike that I'm this demo bike that I'm riding today, so I really don't want to over rev it. I am mechanically sensitive and it's not my bike, so I do respect that. But you can already feel, I mean, when you get to 6,000 or 7,000, you know immediately this bike wants to go. Have a look at this and go. Proper nice little motor, I must say. Also, again, the clocks, it is just a fantastic layout. Small, compact, at first glance maybe cluttered, but you quickly make peace with it, and it's comfortable. It's comfortable to read. It's nice to read. No reflections to speak of as I'm riding here. This little hood over here, just, I don't know, finishes everything off. There's no glare on it, and a fantastic bike. More about the seated position. I mean, if you see, if I'm tucked in as I am, my legs tuck in here in the tank nicely, and it is a slim bike but still adventure, still beefy enough. It's a nice balance between beefy and comfortable seated position. The seat is cushioned. It's not like a couch that you wallow around. It's a firm cushion, but a thick cushion. And suspension on sport mode really works. If I just go to standard mode, all round for everyday use, simplistic. This is a bike you don't really even need to read the owner's manual for, but I shouldn't promote that. The indicators, self-cancelable, full LED, emergency braking systems, everything is here. LED lighting, it's fantastic. You have your traction control, you have your ABS with IMU with the lean sensitive angle, and you have everything from your time up on top to the engine temperature. You don't have to toggle through anything to see anything. It's all over here. It tells you your ABS and your rider mode, your gear lever, your average consumption, your fuel consumption. On this lever over here, you can toggle forward and back and see something scroll at the bottom. It's brilliant. Have a look at this. True. And as I mentioned earlier, the wide handlebars gives you great leverage. If you're tired, one hand riding, you sit nice and upright at these speeds, the legal speeds, if we're going to call them. The windscreen is ample, the mirrors are really great, they're nice and high, they're over my shoulders, solid and stable, they're not bouncing around and wobbling. Great build quality, and I think that is testimony, if you still see from the 80s and 90s the early Transalps on the roads, if they're still around today, that is testimony to build quality and to a model's design and functionality, that it's still around. And I think it's fantastic that it's back, and even back in this color, which harks back and pays homage to the original one. It's brilliant. As you can see, in traffic, a bike that is really easy to live with. You don't have to go through the gearbox like a hooligan. There's enough torque. You don't have to go up and down, 5 gears, 3 gears. 1 gear down is ample. It's light, maneuverable, one hand, and you can see the power. Roll it on, it doesn't snatch. Really a bike you can live with on a day-to-day practicality point of view. And just, I think that the brakes, everything is well balanced on this bike. Really well balanced. I mean, you can do a little bit of hooliganism here, but have a look at this. These brakes, you can stand this bike on its nose. Pretty decent brakes. If you grab a handful progressive braking, definitely power brakes, power. If you see flat-footed, both sides, no problem. Pulling off. Have a look at that. Already by the time you're in 3rd gear, you're well over legal limits. It is, besides practical, it's definitely a fun bike. It's a bike that put a smile on your face, a bike that you can commute to work and back every day. It's a bike that you can lane split with. It's a bike you can tour with, go 2 up, take the missus away on the weekend. You're comfortable and in the saddle. I definitely think a couple of hours would be totally possible without too much fatigue. I've been playing on the bike for a little while now, and it hits the spot. It's sweet. It's absolutely all-round sweet. I think I'd have to be really critical to punish a bike like this, or I would actually expect something unfair when you take into account the price point. Yes, we all want the niceties and the luxuries and the finer details, but you got to remember what you're paying for. And you know what, you're paying for a well-engineered bike, a well-balanced bike, a practical bike that is an all-rounder, that is in the middleweight class. And just what is it not doing? It's doing everything. If you have a look, we'll do a quick emergency brake over here. We step on it and whoa, really hard. You can see my feet are flat on the ground, and do a bit of a roll on here. You can see wild. So yes, I've played around on gravel, looser gravel, old dirt roads, farm roads, a little bit of highway, and the only thing there would be the taller screen, but handled well, turned well. This bike is super nimble. It feels light. It's actually radical for an adventure bike. It's for an adventure bike. It's extremely light. It's nimble. I wouldn't say floppy, but it feels like you've got a steering assist in it, power steering on a bike, because it's just really nimble. Yet if I take my hands off, I can weave it around with my body, but it's super stable. Sporty mode, yes, you can climb off the bike. You got plenty tank to hang on to hold on to with your thighs. If you have a look, lane splitting, you don't have to put your feet down. You go right down under 10 kilometers an hour and you're not wobbling around. It's just perfect. Here we go, 8Ks, 6Ks. None of the traffic lights working. That's a South African phenomenon with our load shedding. But have a look at this. So if you're riding like this, you've got enough beefiness on the tank to flick it over and grab the tank with your thighs for a sporty ride, yet it's not too wide, ripping your legs apart. Nimble, as mentioned, you can flick it. You've got enough leverage to do counter steering, and the handlebars are high enough with these risers. If you look over here, you've got the handlebar risers from the triple clamp that come right up, so even here on the road I can stand up and I'm not hunched forward in any way. My hands easily reach down here. So ergonomics are just perfect. I don't know, all round for what you get on this bike. You have to give it 10 out of 10. It's a brilliant middleweight bike, and I've ridden a few, and I must say this would be definitely the top one or two that I've ridden. Really enjoy this bike. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick ride and review of the Honda Transalp XL750. If you enjoyed this ride and review with this bike with me, please remember, guys, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and most important of all, please guys, hit that subscribe button to help me build the channel so I can bring you more great content.